Welcome back to Hannity. Tensions are rising in the Middle East as Palestinian attacks on Israel continue. Now, amid the escalating violence, the UN Secretary General made a surprise visit to the region earlier today and urged for peace. Earlier, I sat down with 2016 Republican presidential candidate, New Jersey Governor Christie, to find out how he would handle the numerous situations now plaguing the Middle East. Take a look. All right, joining us now, New Jersey Governor Christie is with us. Governor, how are you? Good to see you.
I'm doing great, Sean. How are you?
All right, so we have Palestinians killing Israelis. Yeah, this is after the Iranian deal, which the president approved this week. Palestinians killing Israelis, and John Kerry is making a moral equivalency between those who are victims of terror, the Israelis, and those that defend themselves from terror, the Israelis. And I'm trying to understand, what is wrong? Why do they keep doing this? Why do they keep turning their back and stabbing Israel in the back?
Well, all I can think of is that this should have been predictable back in 2008, right? This president made it clear in his campaign in 2008 that he was going to be a pro-Palestinian, anti-Israel president. And I remember speaking to Jewish friends of mine back then. And I said to them, you've listened to this guy, right? In terms of what
part
he said.
of it did you think was clear?
Oh, I guess just his rhetoric. I mean, he talked so much about the fact that there needed to be, equity in Israel, in the Middle East, rather, regarding the Palestinians in Israel. I don't see them as moral equivalents, Sean. I just don't.
He goes to the Church of GD America, Reverend Wright. That bothered me a lot. And I think, to a certain extent, Americans gave him a pass on that. They gave him a pass on Ayers. He keeps making statements, horrible crimes, deeds done in the name of Christ and the Crusades, but the future will not belong to those that slam the Prophet Muhammad. And I'm like, I don't understand.
And no one's slamming the Prophet Muhammad.
Nobody in this country.
People are saying that if, in fact, you're a part of radical Islamic terrorism, that you are a part of the problem and that we need to go out and kill you. That's what because we need to get them before they get us. And this has nothing to do with the underlying religion. It's what people do to masquerade their terrorist activity behind a religious philosophy.
There's almost a modern-day Holocaust. If you look at the Yazidis, the Assyrian Christians, they're being slaughtered and systematically removed from that part of the world.
No question.
We haven't taken in many refugees. But this president is going to take in 200 to 250,000 Syrian refugees, Iraqi refugees. How do we ascertain whether or not they are members of ISIS or tied to ISIS? James Clapper said they will infiltrate the refugee community. Is it a danger to take in even one person?
It's a real danger to take in any of these folks, and that's why I've been advocating for the idea that what we need to do is to incentivize our allies around the world, especially in the Middle East, for them to take these folks in.
They don't want them.
I understand they don't want them. That's why we need to incentivize them to do it. And I think
they will buy them to pay them?
Well, of course,
Why do
Sean.
we have to give Saudi Arabia a penny? They need our money?
They don't need our money, Sean, but you know what? The bottom line is that these folks have been running away because of what this president did. This president drew a red line in Syria, then didn't enforce it. He has ruined the credibility of the American presidency by saying if Assad kills his own people with chemical weapons, we're going to take him out. And then he doesn't. He's created this crisis.
But can we just be a little politically incorrect for a minute and just point out the obvious? If you grew up under Sharia and you're coming to a Western country, Germany is now dealing with, all of Europe is dealing with this. There is a cultural divide from the get-go. And I'm not saying it's insurmountable, but it's difficult. And then are you going to sit a refugee down and say, are you sympathetic towards ISIS or Al-Qaeda? They're never going to tell you the truth. So it seems that Europe is now dealing with this, and now there's a huge backlash there. And that I think this is part of the appeal of Trump on immigration, that we don't have control any longer.
And that's why I'm advocating what I'm advocating, Sean. I mean, the idea is that we want to make sure that these folks are in a place where it's manageable. And I don't know, given this administration, in fact, I'm sure given this administration, that it's not manageable. They don't know how to vet these folks. They don't know how to be able to determine this. And I don't trust this president and his administration to do it. I mean, listen, this is an administration who now looks like their AOL account was hacked into by the CIA director, and that their Homeland Security director is having his voicemails listened to. I mean, this is not an administration, quite frankly, that we can trust anymore to do these type of things. And Syria is a perfect example.
Maybe would it be a good thing if the world, the free world, would unite and create a safe zone within Syria that is militarily protected, multinational force, offer humanitarian help, water, food, medical supplies, whatever they need, but keep them in Syria.
Well, absolutely. And that's why I've advocated from the beginning that we need to put a no-fly zone into effect in those areas and protect those areas from Assad and from the Russians.